Hey everyone, welcome to the Cyclone Fanatic post-game show. I'm your host, Lea Nelson. I'll bring in Jeff Woody again to talk about this insane game. I know everyone's hearts are beating out of their chests, but before we get started, let's thank all of our sponsors and we'll bring Jeff in. But let's start with Carl Auto Group. They have been a sponsor of Cyclone Fanatic for ages. They have locations all over, and you can head to them for all of your vehicle needs at carlautogroup.com today. We have Keen Project Solutions. Cyclone fans in the ag industry, this is for you. They have been pioneering the future of industrial agriculture. Engineers and project managers join the team where passion for ag drives innovative engineering and construction. Central States Roofing, our friends over at Central States Roofing, they've been a locally owned business for 56 years and counting. They specialize in all the commercial projects. They have offices all over with offices in Des Moines, Ames, and Fort Dodge. Make sure you visit csroofing.com for more. Our friends over at Raymond James, if you're looking for trusted financial services, you can check out Raymond James. They have offices in Ankeny, Carroll, and Ames. RJ, Clay, and Chase are here to help. Visit raymondjames.com/Natussel to learn more. And finally, Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Make sure you mark your calendars for August 23rd, 2025. The Cyclones will face Kansas State in Dublin, so book your travel package. You got to go to cyclones2ireland.com. That's cyclones, the number 2.com. All right. Let's break this game down. You're so calm, cool, and collected, and I love it. What are your initial thoughts right off the bat?
Man, you couldn't have made bigger mistakes. They didn't make a lot of them. For the most part, the game was played fairly clean. Like I say, for the most part, not as in like degree of mistake, as in if you had 200 plays between offense, defense, and special teams, which I don't know, maybe it's probably less than that. And forgive me, I think I swallowed some dust as I was running downstairs. They had let's go, it's 200 plays. They messed up on maybe 5 of them, 6 maybe, but those mistakes were enormous. So they dominated 97% of this game, but they made substantial mistakes. And also, I would say credit to Utah for making plays. So this is a statistic. It's not going to be on that sheet necessarily. Again, forgive me for the cough.
Oh, you're good. It's been a crazy night.
Yeah. So a statistic that we use it on Mahoney and I's show. It's called Hidden Yardage, and a very, very brief breakdown for what this statistic is. It's sort of a Jeff stat, but it's one that we used when we were playing. Shane Burnham was the guy. So go to drives, Matt, to pull up the number. So how you figure this out is see underneath each. So Iowa State's drive charts on the left, Utah's drive charts on the right. At the very bottom, it says total drives and average start. So those two, you take those two numbers and multiply them together. What that means is how far away from your goal line did you start? And if you use how far away from my goal line did I start and how far away from your goal line did you start, add those numbers all together and you get average starting field position. If I average starting on the 40 and you average starting on the 20 and we each have 10 drives, the first 20 yards of your drive are just to catch up to where I started. So special teams is really hard to quantify the impact of, and what I use hidden yardage for is to clarify what this is. So if you're going to be doing this like hidden yardage statistic, as you can apply it one of two ways. The total hidden yards, either the team who had more hidden yards, you either add that to their total yardage because they have this bonus yards, or you subtract it from the losing team's yards. So if you had, if I'm playing you, well, Iowa State, Utah, let's say Utah, in their total yards, I think was 200 total yards, and Iowa State's was 425, something like that total yards. Utah won hidden yardage by 180. Now, where that 180 comes from is they had 2 non-offensive touchdowns, meaning they had 2 drives that don't count necessarily in the stat sheet. They just started the drive 100 yards away from their goal line. So you take starting field position plus 100, non-offensive touchdown, plus another 100, non-offensive touchdown. So you look at total yards. Iowa State had 405. Utah had 225. Let's do 224 plus 180. 404 yards of total yards plus hidden yardage. Iowa State, 405. That's why this game is close. Because the way that Utah impacts a game, and this is to the credit of Kyle Whittingham, they have 21 consecutive seasons with a pick six. They don't do this non-offensive touchdown stuff by accident. They do it very much on purpose. And so if you're Kyle Whittingham and your offense is hot trash, which is what we saw, their offense is really bad. What are you going to try and bank on? You're going to spend a lot of time in practice. The pick six was sort of a fluky play, but the only way they got a pick six was because they knew how to do it. They blocked downfield when Jalen Knoll was going to make a tackle. And on that punt block, they probably spent a ton of time in practice scouting Iowa State's punt look. And whenever they got that look that they wanted, trigger for it. So like Utah made plays, and that's what Kyle Whittingham does. That's why they've been so successful for so long. While at the same time, Iowa State made a couple mistakes. So like when you add hidden yards to the offensive yards they had, it's about even. Utah just has to manufacture some other stuff. So like the game was close and Iowa State screwed up, but Utah makes plays. And like I think that of the losses this year, all but 2 have been within 1 score. So like this is not super surprising. So like I'm going to end this long monologue.
You're good. You're good.
When you were mentioning like that I was really calm, why was I really calm in the end of that game? Because the offense is hot trash. We know that. He knows that. We all know that. In that moment, there's a minute and 54 or 48 seconds or whatever, and the only unit that can win the game for you is your offense. That's why you're okay. They couldn't do the other side from one drive, which is the first time Iowa State saw that kid. They had no idea. He was not in the scouting report. Who the hell is this kid? Didn't know he can run. Let's play him like a pocket passer. He has one successful drive. You get him out there a couple times. Haycock makes an adjustment. They shut it down. Like the game not necessarily was in jeopardy. And let's play the other side. Let's say he makes that kick. It goes into overtime. Who's winning that game? Iowa State's winning that game. Utah can't score. So like it is. That's why I was so calm. Like the sky's not falling. Our pets' heads are not falling off. It was just a weird game because Utah needed a weird game to be in that game.
1,000%. And now that Iowa State has won, let's talk a little bit about what comes next for the Cyclones. Give us a little breakdown on what we can see next week and then the week after.
Okay, so to my knowledge, and Matt, this is at least statistically sort of correct, right? So Iowa State, by winning today, and Colorado and BYU losing, Iowa State wins next week. It doesn't matter what else happens in the rest of the conference. They're in the Big 12 championship, right? And depending on how it shakes out, either they're going to be the 1 seed and they get to wear red, or they're the 2 seed and they have to wear white. Like, that's really the only difference, right?
There's a few wild scenarios out there where if they lose, because like Houston would have to be, I don't remember who Houston plays. So now Houston play?
BYU plays Houston. So
BYU plays Houston,
So just win the game. Just win. Win the game. Don't
you
lose to
control your
Kansas State.
destiny now. So you didn't before.
Exactly. Now, what I would say about Kansas State, though, so like looking forward to the Kansas State matchup as compared to the Utah matchup, Kansas State is very Cincinnati-like. They're a better version of Cincinnati. They play a 3-3-5 defense. They have a running quarterback who can throw sometimes, but is generally more inefficient in the passing game than he needs to be. So Iowa State, they are going to be playing a team like Cincinnati, so expect them to need to shore up the run game. K-State can throw it a little bit better, but I think that the Iowa State defensive unit right now is so much better than they were a couple weeks ago because Verdun is back, Orange is back, and McLaughlin and Sadowski and Ebel, you finally have 3 linebackers that you really, really trust. And because of that, you can actually run your defense. So their defense is a lot different than it was because of those 5 guys being in, 3 linebackers, safety, D linemen. Because those guys being in, it's a lot different. So the long and the short of it is you win next week, you're in the Big 12 title game. It's a rivalry game against a team that talks a fair bit of trash. They were expected to win the conference. They wanted you to know that it was the conference. Iowa State fans, we have the chance to not only go to the title game, but step on Kansas State on the way to that title game. So like this one, if it's not sold out by like Monday or Tuesday, I will be shocked. So this is
Jeff, when was the last time Iowa State won 9 regular season games? I have it right here for you if you want it, but I want you to guess what year.
Was it
regular season, remember? Not including a bowl game.
Way before when I was born.
I say Sage never did it. That would have been the like 9-3, 8-4 would have been the closest. Would this been in the like 30s kind of thing? Are we
1906.
Hey,
People had it right in the chat. That's awesome.
1906.
That's what I'm seeing from Wikipedia, the official source.
I feel like that's trustworthy.
So Jeff, I just want to say one thing too. I was really impressed with Rocco Becht through adversity today. He throws the pick six. They come right back and score a touchdown. Utah goes and takes the lead. You need a game-winning drive, and Rocco's done that a lot this year. I don't think he's got enough credit for it. I mean, he didn't have his best game, right, statistically. They didn't really need him to have his best game. Again, like we said, with Utah's offense not being able to score. But just talked about how Rocco's poise and just how he was able to deliver for this team.
Yeah, that's kind of his thing. Like you look at UCF, you look at the Cincinnati, like the snap in Cincinnati, the ball almost gets snapped over his head. He wrangles it down, scores a touchdown to go up 2 scores, game's over after that. So every time, and I mean, back to the Iowa game, like we saw this, whenever you need execution in a pressure situation, Rocco, for the most part, has delivered. And I think that we also have to give a tremendous amount of credit to Taylor Mouser. Because, and I can also, this is for all you fellow sickos that will go back and rewatch this game. There's a cutaway when they show, I think it's after a touchdown, they show Campbell looking down at a tablet, and you can see him kind of mouthing something, talking in the headset, I'm assuming to Mouser because the offensive drive just finished. And he'd said something, you could see him say pop pass twice. Pop pass, that's what that is you're popping a tight end through. So that was seen as a look way early on in the game. You could see Campbell mouthing pop pass. Well, the guts to actually call that in a 3rd and 2 situation, you bring heavy personnel out, you know what Utah's going to think, but if Carson Hansen underthrows that and that ball gets tipped, or he overthrows it, and how many times has Carson Hansen thrown that in a game? Never. And so, like, to call that play when you need that play, I mean, that's a super, super confident play. So Rocco being super confident, super calm, but the balls on Mouser to actually call a lot of the game that he did enabled Iowa State. Another thing, as far as like Campbell and Mouser, in that game, I'm sure another thing, like Iowa State fans getting a little bit nervous in, Iowa State's got 1 timeout. They get the ball with, I think, 5.5 minutes to play, and they slow their way down the field. They're not trying to play for multiple possessions. They're essentially pushing their chips to the middle of the table, saying, we are going to score a touchdown on this drive or we're going to lose the game. And the confidence in your offense and the confidence in your play calling to say, we are going to score on this drive or we lose the game, that's a lot. And I credit just the coaching staff to handle this super weird game. And you could have very easily gotten flustered with 2 non-offensive touchdowns and a missed field goal. So a lot of kudos to a lot of people, especially on the offensive side.
1,000%. So what does Iowa State need to fix up, clean up, tune up before this next game on Saturday?
Degree of mistakes. I think this has got to be the 3rd or 4th year in a row they've had a punt blocked. I think they had 2 blocked in the Iowa game a couple years ago. I mean, I know they had 1 blocked. I think it was earlier this year too. So like, you have to shore up punt protection, because against Kansas State and whoever you play after that, because if you beat Kansas State, congratulations, you're going to get Arizona State or BYU or Colorado, somebody. You win that game, you're going to be in the playoffs against somebody else who's really good. Punting and special teams becomes enormous the bigger the games get. And so the punt unit has to clean that up. You also, I think another thing, the props to the offensive staff, but the thing they're going to go back to the drawing board is high red zone area. They still settled for, I think, 3 field goals, and they missed 1 of them. And in the high red zone area, that area of the field is where Iowa State has gotten stuck a little bit, mostly by their own fault. So that pick 6 happened in there. They missed a field goal. There's, I think, 2 other times they kicked a field goal, and they didn't get touchdowns out of it. Again, the more and the bigger these games get, the margins get smaller for your error. So I think high red zone execution offensively. And the other thing would be pat the defense on the back, like continue to build confidence in that unit, because they played really, really well. 2 non-offensive touchdowns. So that game would have been a 14-point defensive game with a 1 touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So like clean up a couple things, specifically special teams, high red zone area. And then other than that, don't make big mistakes, man. Don't throw pick sixes. Stop
Right.
doing that.
Can we give some love? I know you did to Mouser just about that play call with that pitch to Hansen and the throw to Klotz. Like, that was just gutsy, ballsy, whatever you want to call it. Like, you needed a play. Wow.
Yeah,
Didn't see that coming.
No, and I think the beauty of it was, it's like we were talking about at halftime, is why do you run inside zone? Because you always have to have a counter move to your move. Like, to use a basketball example, or a softball example better, is you can throw a great fastball, but if the only thing you throw is a fastball, you never have a changeup, never have a rise ball, if nothing else is there, hitters will very quickly catch on to what you're doing. But you only have to have, like, I mean, instead of a softball example, a baseball example, Mariano Rivera, he had a cutter. That cutter was almost unhittable, but he would throw a changeup every once in a while just to keep you off guard. So you don't need to throw a changeup a ton. You just got to throw the changeup twice per game. And then you can't fully wholesale onto that one thing. So, like, it was a really good counter punch on that move, because run the heavy formation. They know you need a first down really bad. You've been bleeding the clock. All right, what are they going to do? They're going to bring the heavy set in and run it downhill. No, they're not.
I love when you speak my language. Who were your, players of the game, this game?
Rocco. I think you have to give it to Rocco. I think the entire linebacking crew collectively would be the other one. It's not just Sadowski or Ebel or McLaughlin. I think collectively that group played really well when they needed to keep the run game stuck, to force the quarterbacks, whoever it was, to force the quarterbacks to beat you. You need to stop the running game, and that starts obviously in the defensive line, but in a 3-3-5, your linebackers are really involved in that. So Rocco on offense, shout out to Carson Hansen, linebacking unit. And then the one guy, Steve-O Klotz, man. Again, for you sickos that go back and watch this, if you have a rewatch, just have a Klotz rewatch. Just watch anytime there's 49 in the field. Watch 49. He is doing something super impressive to set up a touchdown, to score a touchdown, to do something that nobody else in the field can do. So I don't know, co-players of the game.
I love it. I love it.
Higgins quietly went for 155. By the way,
that's also true. And can I?
In a touchdown.
This is one other thing. I was watching the game with my wife, and she is very interested in football, and she's learning about it, but doesn't know quite like a whole bunch. So, like, it gives me the chance to kind of test ideas to talk to a crowd.
Oh, I love it.
So one of the things that that Utah did that Iowa State just couldn't figure out why they kept doing. So, like, use another softball example. They were throwing a fastball on the outside most of the time. And most of the time, against most people, that's a really good one. Well, you throw a fastball outside, leadoff hitter takes it down the right field line. Throw a fastball outside, second hitter, right field down the line. Third hitter, right field down the line. And you keep throwing that fastball outside. At some point, you have to get off of the thing that got you there. Mm-hmm. Defensively, Utah played man-to-man coverage, cover one, the whole game. You play man-to-man coverage with a freshman on Jaden Higgins, and he toasts you for 120 yards in the first half, and you still keep playing cover one. Like, you throw it to him every time they're going to be in man coverage. Like, you have to admit that he's outmatched. And I think there's 3 pass interference calls on that same guy throwing it to him. So if you add that yardage to his receiving total, he would have like 225 of Iowa State's total yards just on throwing it to him in man coverage. So, like, Utah very stubbornly stuck to a thing that usually works, but wasn't working, and they never got out of it. And it was sort of, I'm sure when Rocco was like lining up to take the snap, they're like, really? Again? All right, here we go.
And if we're nitpicking here, Rocco did have some passes that were zipped in there a little too hard.
Yeah.
And it may have been the moment, just was, that stadium was actually, for a 4-8 team, was pretty damn impressive. I'll tip my cap to Utah. But what did you see there, Jeff, from Rocco on those passes? I think, was one of them the one that got tipped, or at least I can't remember. There was one there that was either tipped or close to being picked. But he's had a few of those too this season. It's kind of zips him in there a little too hard. But he kind of has that gunslinger too. When he gets in the pocket, sometimes he just tries to zip things in there too quick.
Well, and anything in breaking, and you'll have the chance to watch this tomorrow when Brock plays. Like, it's more or less the same thing. Anything in breaking.
Oh, you didn't hear? He's not playing.
Oh, no.
He's out.
He's on my fantasy team. I got to fix that. But anything in breaking, so slants, digs, stuff like that, you can't float those at all. So, like, you have to put mustard on that, because best case scenario, your guy catches it. your intended worst case scenario is that it's going so fast that it just digs into the ground after that. So like that's kind of reason why a lot of the stuff gets tipped. Most of those tipped passes are when he's trying to rifle one across the middle of the field, because there was a couple of them where if you try and like float something, then it's either gets tipped or it's or if the guy catches it, he's going to get killed by a safety. So like he's doing the right thing. Just sometimes you get bad luck, and he's not the tallest guy on the planet, and there's good scouting. So if they see that he's got some throwing posture, they're going to throw their hands up. So I don't know, kind of happens.
And one last thing before we close it out. I could talk to you all night, but I know we got to get this show on the road. I asked you this last week when you were on the show, but if you're Matt Campbell, what are you saying to the boys in the locker room right
now? That's a good team. Just don't let their record. What is Matt Campbell actually saying, or what would I say?
Well, a little bit about what you would say.
We became the best version of ourselves. We stuck to the process. We went up the hard side of the mountain. I think the thing that you'd want to say is that, like, guys, I know that a lot of you guys are probably, before the game keeping tabs on who won, and you see the opportunity in front of us. You win this next game, you're in the Big 12 championship game. That's the only thing that matters. We're going to celebrate this win for 24 hours. You escaped. We made a few mistakes, but we're able to overcome it. But next week is a chance to go to the championship, and that's what we're here at Iowa State to do. So that's, to me, what the message is going to be.
There was somebody celebrating a little hard.
I was hoping you would
normal co-host Chris Williams is out in Vegas right now, and here's his raw reaction to watching that missed field goal and Iowa State winning.
Yeah!
Chris is living it up.
That's so funny. Trying to get the crowd hyped up.
Ted Flint there. Is Ted crying?
I don't know if he's crying. I mean, Ted's got a... No, he's not crying. That's just pure joy.
Oh, God bless you, Williams.
How many deep is Chris Williams right now?
Oh, they've been going since like 9 a.m., I'm pretty sure.
I feel so sorry for Aiden.
No, Aiden and I have been texting. He's like, this is just not me.
Oh, my God. Because Aiden doesn't drink at all, and he's in Vegas with Williams.
He's a good sport. He's such a good sport.
He's a babysitter right now. He's a babysitter.
Thanks to the 10,000 people that are watching this, by the way.
Yeah,
we
it's
appreciate
awesome.
You.
Yeah, you guys you're amazing. And Jeff, thanks again for joining us. Like, seriously, people are loving you. You give a great perspective, and you were kind of our lucky charm the last 2 games. So we really appreciate it.
Well, I will say this. I don't think that I'm doing this next week. I haven't been asked to. I would be fine with doing it. I've done post game twice on the radio. One was the picked up flag Alan Lazard game against Kansas State. The other one was the Paul Rhodes kneel it game, didn't kneel it game, should have knelt it game against Kansas State. I've done post game radio twice. It's the 2 weirdest games against Kansas State, but this is a different environment. But I got bad juju from those ones, so I think Williams is going to come back for the next one.
Yeah.
By the way, 3-0 in the Cyclone script, so expect that against K-State, right? Expect it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Amazing. But yeah, thanks to you too, Matt. I don't want to forget about you. Thanks again for hopping in. You guys are the best. Thanks to all of our sponsors, and thanks to all of you guys for listening. Make sure you tune in next week. It'll probably be Chris, but thanks again to Jeff and Woody. You guys rock, and go Cyclones.